the way. To life's sparkling cup, trust only in His love. Kneel at the cross. Leave every care. Kneel at the cross. Jesus will meet you there.
Thank you, Sister Brian. Let me welcome all those who have made it their business to be here again this afternoon. And oh my God. This afternoon we have a very interesting topic. We are going to talk on puberty. And as I am welcoming each one of us, let me welcome a special person in our midst this afternoon. This afternoon we have with us Nurse Moise. Nurse Moise, can you stand? Let everybody see you. This is Nurse Moise, and she'll be talking to us this afternoon on puberty. Where you are again, Fonkole? Exactly. Just no, let's say it yourself.
I am the community health nurse for Maho, Massa, Cochrane, Campbell, Warner, Sufuye, Scott Z, and as of September, I'll be getting also Granby, which will be Bagatelle, Tetmont, Pichelin, Bellevue.
How are you going to manage that? With God. Yes, with God. With God. So if you have a problem in Fonkole, who is the supervisor to check for? Nurse Moise. I know. I know. Now we are going to do our aim, our pledge, and our AY song. And nurse, yeah, me nurse. Lynn, I give you a surname name. I give you a handle there. Let us listen to Sister Matthew.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Please stand as we do our aim, motto, pledge, and song. Please stand at attention. Let us do our aim, motto, pledge, and AY song. So we begin our AY aim. After 2, 3. Send message to all the world in my generation. The motto, the love of Christ compels me. Our pledge, loving the Lord Jesus, I promise to take an active part in the work of the Adventist Youth Society, doing what I can to help others and to finish the work of the gospel in all the world. Our AY song. After 2, 3.
Adventist youth away
From every land and sea, together we work and pray and sing.
we are many Adventist to share with others everywhere. The message of love from God above to show the world we care. Adventist youth, Adventist youth, Adventist youth are we.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Sister Lynn. Let's listen to our devotion right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. The title of our devotion this afternoon is Liquid World, and our reference text is Romans 12 and verse 2. And it reads, Don't copy the behavior and the customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. It started there in the 80s. I began to understand what it meant for many people to go from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age. What seemed simply a memory of the 60s and the hippie movement was gaining strength until it led to what is now commonly known as the New Age. Between the readings of Marilyn Ferguson, I could visualize the fluidity of the environment and the usual lightness of our being. We float in a liquid world. So what does this mean? It means that we knew where we were before because our society had clear and established margins. For example, a couple knew that after friendship came courtship, then engagement, marriage, and then the generation of a family. Today, a couple will not know how to differentiate which state they are in. Is friendship what used to be relationship or dating? How long should a marriage last? And what about love? Everything is much more diffuse, less solid, more liquid. The book of Revelation already said this toward the end of its projection of the different stages of Christianity. I know all things you do, that you neither hot or cold. I wish that you were one or the other. But since you are like lukewarm water, neither hot or cold, I will spit you out of my mouth, you say. I am rich. I have everything I want. I don't need a thing. And you don't realize that you are wretched and miserable, poor and blind and naked. Revelation 3:15-17. Christianity has lived through diverse times. Frozen when persecuted, hot when persecuting, but now it is in and out. It is in the middle of a difficult situation to classify. Religion is the heritage of people, and in turn, it is divorced from everyday life. It is a part of the public, but it cannot be public. It has the status of private and exposed while wishing to be privatized. Belief is no longer framed in doctrines, but in opinion. But this anonymous situation is very appealing to many Christians. So what this devotion tells us is that we live in a liquid world, and in society today, there are so many opinions and ideologies. So do we know where we stand? Do we know what we believe in? Right now, we are confused about gender. We are confused about what the Bible actually says. So we need to know where we stand. It is time to return to the scripture and reflect on Paul's advice, because we cannot conform to this world. Commitment is needed to make established clear ideologies. We need to be what we need to be. Thank you.
She was as clear as crystal. I don't think there's nothing more I have to say on that. Now let me call Nurse Moise to the podium to start off with our main feature. And we are going to talk on puberty and reproductive health.
Okay. It is a bittersweet feeling being here because I was once the youth leader of my youth in my church, and I taught Sunday school from at the age of 10 up until probably I was like 20-something. So it's now that I have so much of a great task in terms of my profession, I think it was almost a sad feeling to hand on the baton. But I mean, it's a pleasure to be able to be in an audience where there are so many young people from different age groups. It's also a pleasure to see the vibrancy in your, how I should say, your decision to continue being a child of God. Because there are youth among you who are not here because my parents are here. I am a youth making a decision to say, I want to continue in the work of Christ. And so I just want to encourage you that even today with the information that I'm going to present, it is something that you are going to be able, information that you are going to be utilize, you are going to be able to utilize to uphold your motto of your, what is the name? What? AY. Where you say that you want to use yourself to be able to, something where you will be able to use to spread, before the spreading of the gospel. There is something. Can somebody repeat it for me? Say any motto for me? I heard the pledge. Doing what I can to help others. And what I can to help others is not necessarily doing physical labor, but also giving information. So whatever information that I am going to give in the capacity of nurse, I want you to use it in the capacity of peer, colleague, student, church, or youth, okay? And I want you to take the information that pertains to you and put it and practice it in your everyday life in terms of your decision making, but also use it to impact the individuals who are around you, who don't have the pleasure of maybe having the motivation to be as part of your group here. Okay? Okay. So we're going to be doing puberty and reproductive health. That's my focus for today. So what is puberty? Can anybody, and I'm not a speaker who says and gives information. I'm not a teacher. I love teaching, but I love to interact more. So I want you to interact with me. When I say the word puberty, what comes to your mind? Who knows anything about puberty? Anybody can raise their hand, or if they want to say anything, feel free to do so. What do you understand by puberty? Right, so it's like a transition phase, right? You're no longer a baby that mommy feeds a bottle and carries to preschool. You're at a point where you have to go through, your body goes through physical changes and you go through emotional changes where you have to make decisions. Every single adult here went through puberty, every one of us. We may have made decisions different than the other, but we went through puberty. Our bodies changed, and we went through puberty. So what is puberty? Puberty is a time in life when the boy or girl becomes sexually mature, and it's a process that usually happens between 10 and 14 for girls and 12 and 16 for boys. It causes physical changes, emotional changes, and it happens differently in boys and girls. Why do we think so? So there is a saying that boys usually mature after girls. And boys sometimes take it as something bad is being said. But that is scientifically proven that you all usually mature further down than us, right? And that starts from puberty. Okay. So what are the changes that generally happen among all of us, for both boys and girls? These are the changes that happen. Okay, you will get acne. Can anybody tell me what is acne? Yes, son. Excellent. So you'll get pimples. Where do we get those pimples, though? Face alone? Neck. Some boys get them on their back. Right. So we get pimples. What else do we see in our bodies that change? Some people going through puberty all know. So tell me something that changed, son. No, chickenpox is a disease, but a good try. Good try. Huh? Your voice change. Excellent. Now, is that something that goes for both girls and boys, or is it more in boys? Both? More in boys than girls. I mean, girls change, but not as extensive and expected as that of boys. Usually what happens with the boy's voice? Does it get deeper? Okay, so we see that may happen with boys. For girls and boys, tell me something that both girls and boys experience. Yes? Yes. Very good. So we see and we have the growth of pubic hair. Where else does hair grow? Huh? You're smashing. Jesus. I'm so proud, but yes, good. In the auxiliary area, so in our armpits, we have hair. Now, if we have hair growing, and okay, so one other thing we say, we sweat too. So you sweat more. Now, tell me if you have hair growing in your pubic region and under your arm, tell me something that may happen. And we would have to take steps to make sure that others don't observe it about us. Tell me something that we think may happen. Very good, body odor. So the body odor comes because of those physical things, but also because of the hormones that we are changing. You are developing and growing older. So obviously, the changes that are occurring in your body, it can cause you, with the sweating, it can cause you to have a body odor. So it means that there are things that you can do to prevent certain things that may happen during puberty, right? Because you don't want to be sitting in class next to somebody and then when you lift up your hands, you're smelling like a little bird. So you do certain things to make sure you take care of yourself properly. Okay. There is also hair that we have on our arms and our legs. You may see it get a little darker in color and it may grow. So some people might say, I'm hairy. And some of you may start feeling pain in your joints because you are what? You are getting, not just older, but excellent. You're getting taller. You're getting height. So as your bones are growing and stretching, you may feel pain. They call it growing pains. Okay? Nice. So for boys, specifically for boys, we spoke about the deep voice or the voice change. We have here, we spoke about here in the armpits and the pubic, but where do boys get here again? Right. So you have to go to the barber. You see the men have nice shape up. So then you start to grow beard and you start to grow your mustache. Right. Now, boys also experience what we call mood swings. So you might have things where you may feel excited about something and sometimes some little thing might get you sad and depressed. So it's not a girl thing, boys also go through those mood swings. You may feel tenderness and soreness of your breast area, okay? It is okay to feel that way because we are all created human, and although women are created differently, the way they will have breast growth, your chest muscles are also growing as males. So when you feel that way, it's not anything that you worry about. Some males actually feel a little big gland because they feel it's swollen. Mommies, daddies, it's not anything to worry about. It is normal growth. Boys, it is normal. It doesn't mean that you are going to develop breast. Okay? The person can go. You will have your shoulders and your chest broadening. You will have that broadening. And then you will also experience the growth of your genital area. So your penis will grow in length and in size. That's a normal part of development. Okay? For girls, 2 slides down. Skip. You're moving slower than me. For girls, you will have what? Your breast actually growing. You get the acne. Usually girls sometimes you may see girls experiencing more acne than men. And the girls usually experience acne around what time? Can somebody tell me? Right. It's correlated with something else. So that's another thing that girls will go through during puberty. They will start to menstruate, see their period. Now, because at that time your hormones are at different levels, heightened levels, you will start to see also the acne. So there are people who say, I get a period, I get pimples when I have my period. So that is normal during puberty. You will also experience a growth spurt. You will see your little girls who are home all of a sudden get tall and get big. That is normal and expected during puberty. Okay. Go down to the yellow slide. So there are stages of puberty that occur. Nice. For stage 1, for girls, on that side we have girls. Stages where you have 8 to 11. You can see the first signs of puberty, but yet you cannot see, the first signs of puberty, but your ovaries are enlarged and your hormone production begins. That means that you are getting in the process of your period coming just now. Some people, their period starts at age 8. Some people a little later. At stage 2 for a girl, which is between 8 and 14 years, they will start to see, like I said, the breast develop. And that means that you may feel a little hard lump between the flesh and the nipples. And also it might be tender to touch. For stage 3, it is between 9 and 15. You will have the breast actually showing. So that time you have to get them sports bras because you want to protect them when they are playing sports. You want to protect their image based on the clothes they are wearing. You want to make sure that their breasts are not appearing. That is the time you will see the formulation of the nipples. So you want to protect your little girls. Or little girls, you want to protect yourselves. When mommy buy the sports bra and you are dressing, you make sure you dress appropriately. Okay? And at that time, you will also maybe see the growth of the pubic hair, and then you might also, some little girls might experience a discharge. That's normal. That is normal reproductive health. And for stage 4, when you are at the age 10 to 16, the breast and the pubic hairs are a lot more adult-like. The nipples and the dark area of the breast, the areola, is very much pronounced, and ovulation really starts. For guys, for the boys, at stage 1, you can't really see signs of puberty, but your hormone you are also producing hormones, and you are growing taller. At stage 2, between 9 and 15, your body starts to take its shape. So you start to grow muscles. And you watch yourself and you say, I have muscles. And you're trying to tell your brother, my muscles bigger than yours, because you're growing, right? You will also see growth in your reproductive organ. So you will see your testes or your scrotum get a little bigger, and you will see hair start to grow there too. In stage 3, the same thing happens, but more pronounced, and also your voice then at that time starts to break. So that is when the deep voice starts to come. Some boys, when their voice starts to change, it gets a little squeaky before it gets to that deep, dark, deep man voice. So you may experience that. If you do, and you find your voice get a little light and squeaky, it doesn't mean it will stay. You are developing. Give yourself time to develop. Okay. And then in stage 4, you are between 11 and 17. That is when you will realize your genitals have grown a lot longer and wider, and then your testes have grown and almost like grown up to man. So puberty and our feelings. We're moving along. Puberty and our feelings. Because we said that puberty does what? It doesn't just do those physical changes, but it also creates changes inwardly. How do we feel? What does it do? And anything that has to do with hormones, it will act on how you feel. Anything where your hormones are involved and you have alteration of hormones internally, it's going to act on your mood and how you feel, how you think. Okay? So we're going to touch a little bit on how does puberty and our feelings correlate. Okay. I want you to take a look at that photo. And I want somebody to tell me in that photo, what do they see? What do you notice? A young person. What do you, yes. When you see that photo, what do you see? Same person, right? You see the same girl, a picture of the same girl, right? Yeah. Okay. Tell me what you notice.
In one picture, she is happy, and the other picture, she is sad.
Excellent. Same person, two completely different feelings. We notice that, huh? Now, the funny thing about that photo I want us to note is that this photo could have been taken 2 seconds apart. That is what puberty is. I want the young people, how many of you have ever been so happy, smiling, and then in a split second something make you sad? Put up your hands. Sad, angry. Not plenty of you? Okay, so, okay. Very much so. Right. So, and that is normal, eh? I want you to know that it is a normal stage of development. Very normal. Okay? That is when you are going through puberty, those things happen. So we're moving on. Puberty is controlled by your hormones, and these hormones affect your feelings as well as your body. The emotions may become strong and more intense during puberty. Your feelings can change and quickly and randomly. So that's what they call mood swings. 1 minute I happy and excited, next minute I sad, I fed up. I don't want to talk to nobody and to be by myself. 2 little seconds, somebody come and tell me something, I smiling. That is the mood swings we speak about. It can be confusing. It can be very, very confusing. And if you do not utilize the people around you to help give you guidance when it comes to that stage of development, you can end up being in a place you do not want to end up. So we have to be able to understand what we are going through. With us maybe, okay, yes, we get somebody to tell us what is the stage of development we're going through, but to also know that we have people around us who will provide guidance to us. And we are the ones at a stage of development to be able to discern and say, this is the advice I take because it's the best for me. This is what is going to provide me with a better future. So you have to be able to know, okay, I'm going through that stage of development, but what do I do? Around that time, who do I lean to? Where do I go? Don't make decisions just on your own based on your feelings. Seeing that you are now educated, that your feelings can change in split seconds. If you feel something, or you are worried about something, or you're concerned about something, what do? You seek advice. Huh? No? No? I hear somebody say no, that's right. Okay, so puberty can be very confusing, as I say. It's a very confusing time in life. Your emotions will vary and they are out of control. 1 minute you are on top of the world, and the next minute you are down in the dumps. Okay, so emotional changes that occur during puberty. 1, we have feeling overly sensitive. So for example, you will see a photo come up where in that photo, a young lady, acne is normal, but she's looking in the mirror at the acne and she's worried because of her physical image. She's worried of who is going to see me, like her concern is not, oh, there are 3 other children in my class or everybody in my class around the same age group going through the same thing. No, what she's worried about is how they're going to look at me. Do I feel pretty? Do I look pretty? Not that, oh, it's a stage of development and I will get over it. She's worried. Where you also seeing the guy? He's 2 little muscles not even showing, but he's pushing it up. Huh? Excited. Okay. Then you have looking for an identity. In looking for an identity, there is a photo where you will see a young lady, she's standing, and there are other individuals in the group, and she's trying to see where she fits in. And you will go through that. You are in school, and there are many different groups in your school. There are a group of children who come from the same country, the same village. There are a group of children who like the same subject. There are a group of children who attend the same church. Which group do you choose to be a part of? Who do you choose to be friends with and to create and to allow to influence you and your decisions that you make? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Okay. Feeling uncertain. Feeling uncertain is a transition phase where you may begin to wonder and think about new and unfamiliar aspects of your life, like your career. What do I want to do when I'm an adult? What profession do I want to join? What change I want to create? How do I want individuals to see me? How do I want to impact an individual that I come into contact with? And it's also, how do you plan your livelihood? What type of life you want? Do you want a life where you want to have a mansion and a big vehicle? Do you want a life where you are satisfied? Do you want a life where you are reliant on whatever Christ provides for you? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. You are also at this stage where you will start worrying and wondering about marriage. In the presentation and devotion that the young lady did earlier, she spoke about marriage. And you are at your puberty age is when you will start making decisions as a young individual, and you start wondering and worrying about marriage. Because why? You see your parents' marriage. You see marriages. You see individuals in your church who are married. You see and hear of your colleagues, your classmates, and their parents and their marriage and their relationships. So you are at an age where you also start to wonder and are concerned about that. Another emotional change is peer pressure. Anybody can tell me what is peer pressure? What does it mean? What does peer pressure mean? your side. Just tell me your understanding.
Peer pressure is something that people that influence is good or bad. Peer pressure.
Good. Excellent. So when you, yes?
Peer pressure means is when people or someone tell you something and you are wondering and thinking about what they say, and another person says something totally different that they want you to do. Now you're wondering who should you listen to?
Very good. Well, who is your peer? Who do you consider your peer?
Your friends.
Right. People who are within the same age group as you, right? So, and what do you consider as pressure? What would you say is pressure?
Your thoughts.
Influence,
Your thoughts.
Your thoughts can be, yes, but your thoughts will be influenced by
Your
peers. So, oh, you are forced, right? Oh, you are forced. Excellent. So pressure is when you are forced or influenced by your peers, meaning children who are same age group with you, going through the same thing with you, the youths. No. Here's the difficult part with peer pressure. You have to be strong-minded and of strong will to be able to discern right from wrong when it comes to choosing the influences that you may get from your peers. It is very difficult for if you and maybe, let's say, the three of you boys are together and somebody says, one of us says, let's go and play football, regardless of if mommy say, do not go on the field, right? Let us go and play football. Let us go and play football. Let us escape for us to go and play football. And she comes and she says, no. She's reminding you that your mom said, don't go on the field. But your friend is still in the air saying, let's go, we go in. You know how difficult of a decision it is for you to make? Why? Because the people who are around your age group are the ones pulling you to do something that you are not supposed to do. Now you may sit down and say, but it's just football. So even though mommy might have a little problem, but it's football. But the point is, mommy said no, right? It is easy and easier to choose the wrong thing to do. Now, when it comes to peer pressure, it is very, very, very vibrant when it comes to peer pressure in schools. You are going to schools and you are attending schools where you don't necessarily sit and are together with everybody you are sitting here together with today. You meet other children who are of the world. You meet children who do not have the same principles, who do not have the same goals, who do not have the same values that you are taught. You will meet people who deny God. Huh? You are here and you are being taught. And these are individuals who have, either they have no education or the education that they are being taught or whatever they are being taught is totally against what the Word of God says. And these individuals are set and their main aim is to get you away from where your goal is. Always remember that. Always remember that. So it's you now, at your stage of development, to make that decision. You want to know why it's up to you? Because when you are in the classroom and somebody is speaking to you and influencing you to do something bad, daddy, mommy, pastor, sometimes teacher, not even there for you to go to at the moment that you have to say no. Huh? You have to be able to stand strong and say no without anybody necessarily being there with you because you know it is wrong. And always remember that people will pressure you to do the bad thing more than the good thing. People doesn't come and pressure you much to do the good thing. You know who will pressure you to do the good thing? Your peers in church, the elders in church, your parents. Your friends will always, the friends that outside there you will meet and encounter are to do things that are contrary to the Word of God and contrary to your livelihood and to bring you success. Okay? So I am just encouraging you to make sure that when you are making the decisions, be bold and brave enough to say no. Stand on your no when it comes to peer pressure. Okay, moving on. And so after we have peer pressure, we also have an emotional change where you have conflicting thoughts. So you may start to now decide, do I believe that whatever my parents, the way they were raised or the way they are raising me are the ways I really want to be? Is it that my friends and the way they are is how I want to be? Do I feel like that is the best choices for me? You may start asking yourself also, do I want to remain a Christian? You will start looking at because remember, you have peer pressure and people talking in your ears. So you start to get conflicted and say to yourself, what am I really doing? Is that really the right area I want to be? Is that really beneficial for me? Am I really on the right path? No, when you get to those stages in life and you get to those kind of questions, these are questions that God has provided you with guidance that you don't have to stand on your own and answer. You are blessed to have individuals around you that will be able to help you answer those questions. They cannot, you see the same way you talk to your friends openly and your friends will tell you all their lifestyle stories and what they're going through and what they think they do over the weekend. Be able to be bold enough to say, I came to church and I was part of the worship team, or we had AY and whoever spoke to us, and this is the information she provided, and be bold enough to overpower their conversation about nonsense they do and bring forth the word of God to them. You have the ability to do that. So when the conflicting and the confusing thoughts come, use the guides that God has provided you with. You don't necessarily have to sit down with your Bible alone. If you cannot understand something and you do not know something, what do you do? What would you do as a young person? Yes, my love? Okay, excellent. First thing you would do is pray. And when you pray, where you think God going to send you? Heaven. Very good. He's going to send you heaven, but he's also going to send you to an individual that he knows is his angel that will provide you with guidelines and advice. Okay? Right. Very good. Okay, then we spoke about mood swings. So if we look at the picture again of the same young lady, we realize in a photo she's crying. In one photo she's smiling, maybe she just gets a little good news. Very next moment she's sad, she's crying, and then she's very cheerful. And that's when we speak about mood swings and how quickly your mood can change. Yes. Then we go to feeling self-conscious feeling self-conscious or feeling conscious about ourselves. Why do you think you will feel conscious about yourself? You have physical changes that has taken place. Your voice is deeper. So sometimes when you go in class and you talk, your friend might say, Boje, look at how deep his voice is, but why your voice don't sounding deep like that? Somebody might even want to laugh at you. Some individuals, their breasts start to show, and some others who are around the same age, their development is a little slower. They will look at you and they'll say, but oh, you have breasts already. So because you have physical changes that are taking place, you become self-conscious. You look at yourself when you dress. You look in the mirror to make sure that you are looking presentable. Because you want when somebody else looks at you that they see something pleasing. They see somebody that is pleasing and that has pride in their upkeep. Huh? Right. So you become self-conscious. You also become self-conscious about your odor. When we spoke about the odor, we know that during puberty we get about the odor. So obviously, if we start to take a little smell, we go to mommy and we say, Mommy, I find under my arm have a smell, you know. Somebody smelling under their arm. And then your mommy at that time, because she's concerned about your self-care, what she will do, she'll purchase a roll-on, or she will get you something that you will use to make sure that you take care of yourself. Another way, when you are self-conscious that you take care of yourself, is you take pride in your hygiene. You bathe. Bathe often and bathe properly, making sure that you clean yourself properly. Because you don't want to be among your peers and your peers smelling you before you enter the classroom or after you leave. So you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. And finally, in terms of emotions, we start getting sexual thoughts. Okay? Now, as a Christian, your role and your responsibility when it comes to sex and sexual health is to focus on knowing that it is for a married person. Okay? But as an individual and as a young individual, it's also your responsibility not just to hold that information for yourself, but to give that information to your peers. Now, how can you give the information to your peers? So, I've learned. Remember I said I was a youth leader. I was also a Sunday school teacher. That if you speak and you tell individual or young people things, they don't usually take what you say just at that. Young people at an age where you all like to see, you all like to get into things to experience it, and to prove if what we are saying is true and right. Before I go into a little bit of sexual health, I want you all to ponder on one thing, and I will give it to you from my nursing aspect and my nursing experience. The youngest individual that I had to nurse with cervical cancer was 13 years of age. You understand that? How many of us 13 years are wrong? Okay. How many of you are older than 13? Well, I mean, apart from any youths. Nobody? Okay. So I want us to bear in mind, with cervical cancer, it means that, what do we, when I say cervical cancer, we understand what I mean? No? You don't know what cancer is? Okay. It's like an abnormal growth of cells. It is life-threatening. You have to go through chemo, lose all your hair, and it changes your body image. Well, nurse, that is Nurse Richard's baby. So it's a process, but it alters your adulthood so much so that you cannot have babies, you cannot have children. When you become a married woman, you're just a married woman, where you could have made changes, you could have made decisions, I should say, as a young individual that would have protected that future of yours. So we're going to go a little into, or I should say, into the dangers of involving and acting on those kinds of feelings and how we can impact ourselves and our future. Okay? Very briefly. So I want us to ask ourselves certain questions. The person leave me alone, man. Okay. Move on. He there. Go down. Next slide. Okay. So what happens if I act on my sexual feelings? First one. Can anybody read that for me? Okay. Tell me which one of your parents at your age would have encouraged you to get involved in anything that you should have done when you are married? None. None at all. No, you want to see. So, God has provided us with laws of guidance of how we should live our life. If we do act on those feelings, it means that we are disobeying Him. Now, that is the worst person for us to disobey, you know. You know that. That is the worst individual to disobey. This individual has us here, ensures our everyday and how we live and how we have stuff to eat and how we have guides around us and role models. He provides finance for our parents. He provides energy for you to be able to go to school. He gives you insights and the capabilities of learning. So you can imagine if you just disobey the man, you just disobey him. You just don't worry with that man. That almighty man. Huh? So we have to make sure that we obey his laws and we obey the laws of also our parents. And how we do so is by not getting involved in that. But when we do, and if we do and we don't take that into account, what else can happen to us? So you will put yourself at high risk. And putting yourself at high risk for sexually transmitted infections and also unplanned pregnancies. It also puts you at risk of being in a relationship where you are not mature enough to know what a healthy relationship is. Every individual, your parents and other adults you see in the church who have gotten to the stage of marriage, they got to a point where they had to be mature enough to know this is the right decision I want to make for myself. You cannot rush it. It's a process, all you. You cannot rush it. No matter how you try to rush it, it will fail. Let it be guided by God, and God is not going to guide you at the age of 12 or 10 or 9 to be involved in something without you going through the proper channels of doing it and the proper steps of doing it. Okay? Teens and young adults are at higher risk of unplanned pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections than adults. Okay? So, are there other persons like you who think and feel like you? Do you believe that there are other individuals out there who go through the same emotions, who think and feel like you? Yes? So what do you think is your responsibility as a child of God to your peers? Can anybody tell me? What do you think is your role? What is your role as a child of God, knowing that you too are going through those feelings, and there are individuals out there who do not have the same influences, the positive influences that you have in the church, out there that are struggling like you? What do you think is your responsibility? Anybody? Huh? Excellent. He said, speak to them. He said to speak to them.
Tell them what the right things to do.
Exact. Amen. Very much so.
Give them counseling and therapy.
Very much so. I like that.
Let them speak to someone that
Right.
that can tell them, a grown up, that can tell them how they should react to the situation, and you should give them some advice on how to deal with these emotions.
Very good.
And you could tell them, I do feel how you feel, and what I know and what you may know, it may be true or wrong, but telling them the right thing is the best thing to do.
Excellent. I love that. He said in his explanation that you say to them that what you may think and what I may feel, you may think may be wrong. You may think I'm wrong, and I may think you're wrong. But if in the beginning, like what he said, I bring you to somebody, or I show you somebody, or I explain to, or I encourage you, to go to a person who may know better and different than me, it helps you or helps them, in the decision they are going to make. Excellent. Okay. So I just wanted to share a few facts with us. A few facts that I came across in doing my preparation are, there was a survey that was done by the Center of Disease Control in 2021. And the survey was done in high schools in the US. And I want us to use the figures, and I'm telling you, we in Dominica, not far at all. Maybe even closer and higher. Okay, because our population is a lot smaller. So in 2021, the survey was done. It showed that only 30% of young high school children had never been involved in any sexual act. 30%. 48% had not used protection in their last activity that they partake in. 8% had been physically forced to engage in sexual intercourse, and 9% of students were already tested for HIV. Now, I can tell you from a nurse, for a young person to have been tested for HIV, it's most likely their name came up as a contact to an individual who tested positive. I'm telling you, I am an HIV counselor and tester. I'm telling you. And I am being, as a community health nurse, in my capacity, I am the one responsible to do contact tracing for any individual who may have tested positive. So take, for example, somebody tested positive and they tested at the HIV unit center. And they are from my area. The responsibility or what happens at that time, they call me and inform me to now interact with that individual to get the contacts of whom they have involved with. The sad part about it is I've had to counsel 13, 14, recently 16-year-old boys and girls. So we are not out of the loop. Okay? And only 5% of students had been testing for other STIs. And I'll break down a little into what I mean by STIs later. Okay. The Center of Disease Control also, as of March 2023, they updated a report that they had. And it said for HIV worldwide, 20% of all new HIV diagnoses were among people aged 13 to 24 years of age. That was in 2020, people? Sexually transmitted diseases, nearly 20 million of new STIs reported in 2020 were among young people aged 15 to 24. Teenage pregnancy, more than 145,000 infants were born to adolescent females in 2021. I decided to put the statistics because it is something I think that is an eye-opener for us. It's an eye-opener for us, the adults who are among the youth, that we have to pray incessantly. No matter how much we speak, no matter how much we will teach, you cannot stop praying because that is the only, to me, the only way, because we educate. The information that I share here with you and the information I will share when I'm speaking about STIs is the exact information we give when we go to the schools. We go to the schools frequently. We do teachings in the schools frequently. So it's not that the information is there when you come to the health center and I give it to you, or when somebody gets a scare. The information is given to the children from adolescents. We actually have an adolescent education program. So the adolescents have the information. Especially now that we give the human papillomavirus vaccine. When we do the education and we do the teaching and we educate the students as to why they have to get the vaccine, or why we promote it, or why we tell them about getting it, we ensure that we educate them about the risk that they are putting themselves at. It is alarming from my nursing standpoint, I can tell you, the things that we encounter. And it is not about rape or force or incest. It's about decisions. Right now, the youths are making decisions. So your responsibility as an adult, especially in church, is not just to focus on who is in your 2 foot at your home that you provide meals for. Your responsibility as an elder in the church, as an adult in the church, is to protect every single one of them. Everyone. Because eventually, you're not going to, when you may need Sister Richards to sit with you and to pray about yours, you may have 3, 4, 5, 6 sisters who are on their knees praying for theirs. And then we lose all of them. So we have to keep ensuring that we as a group of adults protect every single one of them. Okay. So how does me being young, or you being young, I should say, and pregnant affect you? How would it affect you? Teenage pregnancy is concerning, and it is associated with high risk of complications during pregnancy and childbirth. The risk that it is associated with is high blood pressure, and with high blood pressure and pregnancy, it puts you at risk of getting seizures, fits. Usually you get, when the individual gets seizures or fits, we call it it's called preeclampsia, and at that time, the baby is at risk of dying and the mother. It's not a baby dying alone, it's the baby and the mother at risk. It also puts you at risk of anemia, which is where your iron levels are very low. And when your iron level is low, somebody was saying something, not true? What happened? You caused it to? You were saying it, say it, baby. Say it. Faith, you whispering, no. Okay, so it can cause you to faint, but not just faint. You can actually go into a coma. You can actually go into a coma because your iron levels are so low and depleted that it can cause you to go into a coma. We know what is a coma? When somebody is almost in a vegetable state where they are unresponsive and they have to be on a machine and a person have to do everything for them. You can imagine you sitting there today and tomorrow because of your decision that you happen to take. You put yourself in that and you don't even get to see 20 years. Okay. And it also puts you at infection, puts you at risk of infections. Infections are very common with teenage mothers. One, because you are still in the process during puberty, going through your hygiene phase of knowing how to take care of yourself. But also, you are not mature. So the decision you take in terms of making sure that everywhere is clean, baby, is clean, is not like that of when your mother decided to have you and she made sure that she was mature enough to have her babies. So you now are putting yourself at risk of getting those infections. In the cases of babies, you have babies who may be born very prematurely before the full-term pregnancy, and they may be very low in their birth weight. Okay. Now we're going to move on a little to what is HIV, sexually transmitted infections, and diseases. Okay? Anybody here knows what a sexually transmitted disease is or infections? No? Yes, son? You may have heard it in school. Do you know? No? So it's a disease or an infection that somebody will contact if they decide to make the decision that is contrary to the word of God. All you understand it that way? If you happen to make a decision that is contrary to what you are taught in church and what God provides you with guidance for, then that is the risk you put yourself at contacting. So some of the STIs, we have chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, genital herpes, hepatitis B, HIV, the human papillomavirus, syphilis, and trichomoniasis. Some of the sexually transmitted diseases, they are viral infections. So you have HIV, it's a virus, it's spread by a virus, and it goes through the viral system, it goes through your bloodstream. You have herpes, also does that on hepatitis. You have some who are bacteria. They are contacted through a bacteria. So they are caused by coming into contact with a bacteria, like chlamydia, syphilis, and gonorrhea. And so you have some which are caused by parasites, like pubic lice, scabies, and trichomoniasis and candida albicans. Some of the STIs, like those who are bacterial, they can be curable. They can be treated and cured. But if they are left uncured, then we will see some of how dangerous it can be. And those who are viral, they are incurable. So we go to syphilis. Syphilis is a bacterial infection. So there is no cure. The symptoms may come back. So there is cure, sorry. The symptoms may come back and go. But if it is not treated with medication, the bacteria will attack your body. And when I say attack your body, I mean every part of your body. If it is not treated, it can have serious consequences. It can cause blindness, dementia, paralysis, and death. We know what is blindness, right? For somebody to go blind. Dementia is when you start having memory loss at a very early age. You start forgetting your children. You start forgetting your peers. You start forgetting your parents. You start doing things that are just not ordinary and not normal. Paralysis is when you are incapable of moving any limb. So you're just there. You're just there. You cannot feel your legs, your hands. You can't move. Somebody has to do every single thing for you. And deaf. Now tell me why, if we are here and we can walk and we can do things for ourselves, that we would choose things that would bring us to those levels. No. Okay. Look at the face. I just wanted to show you a little picture. Look at this. This is a face. Now, earlier on in puberty, we spoke about acne. And then later on, I showed a thing when we talk about sensitivity and how the girl was looking at her acne in the mirror. Imagine a young individual. And remember, you at your puberty phase are at risk of getting this. Okay? If you act on those feelings. So imagine at your age group that your facial features are like this. Your chin start to make sores, and it is very painful, people? Very, very, very painful. Look at the palms, all in the palms of your hands. Sometimes you're even incapable of holding a pen. Okay. Gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a bacterial infection and there is no cure. Most people do not experience noticeable symptoms, so that means that it goes untreated. And gonorrhea causes infertility. So by the time you as the woman happen to get a symptom, it has gone to the part where it is at your cervix. And it has caused you to a point where you cannot reproduce. This decision that you may have made to enter into practicing sex that you're not supposed to get involved in at an early age is going to impact your future. So when you will be sitting and your mother is saying, I want a grandchild. Which parent that raised their child that don't have a grandchild? I want a grandchild. You're at an age where you marry and your husband wants a son, he wants a daughter. You, because of the decision you made as a youth, have now determined what your future is going to be. Now, at the end of the day, as a young individual, this is going to impact the decision-making skill of not just you, but the individuals you may come into contact with.
Let us listen.
Because if at your age, when you get to a stage where you are older and you are dating, and you are having a conversation with a young man, and in that young man, his plan is to have a family, and you are incapable of producing a family, he's not going to see you fit as an individual. Okay? All right. Now, gonorrhea can be cured to the extent where you can get treatment, but infertility cannot be cured. Right. And there are strains of gonorrhea that are not curable because it's what we call drug resistant, meaning that if you give drugs to the person, it will not, the body resisting it, the gonorrhea fighting. So it doesn't really cause an effect. Chlamydia. Chlamydia is also a bacterial infection, but there is cure. Most people do not experience noticeable symptoms, so it usually goes untreated. And if it is untreated, it also leads to infertility. It also causes an increase in risk of ectopic pregnancies. That is where the pregnancy happens in the fallopian tubes for the adults. Herpes. Okay, go down. Important points about herpes. Herpes is a viral infection. So there is no cure. We understand that? You see the picture you just see? You see the picture you just see? Everybody is whispering and talking. There is no cure for that. None. There is not a cure. There is prevention because you can make a good decision now. But there is no cure. Right. And it can be transmitted not only through sexual intercourse, but also through kissing. So those of us who are trying to cure and think we're curing God because we're not involving in anything dangerous and we are there doing the oral part and kissing, we should stop because this is the risk we put ourselves. And remember I said it don't have cure, eh? You imagine the other ones before cure, but that one don't have cure. And it can be transmitted through kissing. Right. It also increases your chances of contracting other STIs and HIV because
Let us listen.
It works on the immune system so much so that it weakens it and puts you at high risk of contracting other sexually transmitted infections. And condoms, which the individuals out there who do get involved in premarital sex use, it cannot sometimes prevent it. Then we're moving on to genital warts. I'll stop scare you in a little while. Genital warts. So genital warts is also spread by a virus, and that means there is no cure. You look at the photo, There is not a cure for that, guys. With medication, you can remove some of the warts. But most times it comes back again because why? It's a viral infection. It's in your system. And you don't need to see the warts on an individual to know that they are going to transmit it to you. Because it is in your system, like HIV. It's in your blood. So you don't have to see it for you to know they have it. Right? It increases your risk of cervical cancer, vaginal cancer, and penile cancer, cancer of the penis. For the little boys that think it's only girls, it's also you at risk. And it may not be prevented by the use of condoms. The next slide speaks about AIDS and HIV. Now, I couldn't get a photo of something for AIDS and HIV. It's the deadliest, but it don't have AIDS and HIV don't have a picture. No. And I'll tell you that, because I remember getting experiences of counseling individuals, and when their results come, even I was surprised. I tell you, I was like, what? True. It doesn't have a face. There is nothing about seeing a person on the road brittle and weak and small and say they have AIDS. Nothing so. They're plump and rosy. Yes. And they're among us. We have young, we have grown, we have old, we have adult individuals. It doesn't have a face. And so because it affects our immune system, HIV, the virus, affects our immune system, and it will later lead down to AIDS if it goes untreated. Because of that, it means that a simple thing like the flu will break us down to feeling like we are dead. We're dying. Because you see the fighting soldiers that Papa Bodier make sure he created you with, that you can fight. You don't need to call the policemen to fight those kind of things for you because God provided it for you. When you get involved in activities that are not of your age group or not pertaining to you, or you get involved in risk behaviors, and you put yourself at risk of contracting those diseases, these soldiers die out. You kill them. So who's responsible for that? Me. Which means that who's responsible to say no? I want to hear the young people. Who is responsible to say no? Me. Right. Nice. It is not your parents or me to say no for you. You have to say no for yourself. So with all that information that you have received, here is the decision that comes into play. Is this a situation, is puberty, your reproductive health and your development, is that phase of life a situation where you have control over? Do you have control over puberty, or puberty have control over you? There are changes that will happen in puberty that you cannot decide. You cannot tell the hair under your arm not to grow. You can't tell it, stop. Or when you start to see pubic hair, say stop grow. No, it has to grow. But when it comes to puberty and your feelings, your actions, you have all the control over. All you understand that? The control is totally up to you. So, is this something that I can take action over? Huh? Is that something I can take action over? Yes, very much so. You can take full action and make the proper decisions. So what is the best way that you can protect yourself? Huh? Let the young people say it. I'm not hearing them. Very much so. What is abstinence? Right. Staying away from not just sexual intercourse, you know. You know what is abstinence? Abstinence is not just staying away from sexual intercourse. Abstinence is staying away from everything that will affect your feelings when it comes to sexual intercourse. So if you know watching a movie will impact on how you feel, because you know you are at that stage of development, do not engage in those activities. Don't watch that movie. Don't go around the friends you know who are already involved in those activities. These are these situations, and you have to take yourself from. So you know your friends already involved in sexual activities, you stay away from them. You occupy yourself with activities that will keep your mind growing and focus on the right things like Christ. Amen. So if you stay and you focus on those things, then You abstain completely because you're not even fighting a war with yourself. If you go and you sit down and you look at a movie where individuals, boyfriend and even cartoons that have boyfriend and girlfriend now. So you sit down watching cartoons with boyfriend, girlfriend, girl changing boy, girl have 3 boyfriends. That is what you're going to influence you when you go to school. When the boy come and talk to you and say, oh, but I'm watching a thing on YouTube and the girl have 2, 3 boyfriends. You screen and you look at what you look at on YouTube because it influences your decision that you make. If I look at something on YouTube, it's because I like it. So if, for example, if I look at a show like Is It Cake on Netflix, because I like making cake, I want to know how to design cakes, it speaks to me. It influenced me. I'm interested in it. So if I'm doing that, it means that you as an individual have to be able to know I make my decisions. When I say I abstain, it's not for me to be fighting a war with my mind. Or I tempt it because I see that should I not. No. Let me get things that will occupy my mind, that I will be able to withstand the temptations outside there. So that when an individual comes to me and speaks to me, I am quickly able to discern, this doesn't feed my spirit, this doesn't allow me to grow, and I can say, no, I am not interested, boldly. And you at your age, at your little ages, are at the point where you have to start making those decisions. Let me tell you, if you do not make those decisions and you allow influences to influence you now, it is going to be worse for you when you get at even my age. I'm telling you, you have to develop your level and your spirit of boldness now. And as a Christian, you have to have a level of boldness. Yes. That's how you stand out. Yes. That is how you stand out. Yes. You have to be bold to be able to set apart. Yes. You see, when you go to school and you alone stand up and you pull up there and you sing in a gospel song, let somebody see you. You may think they're watching you and they're saying, boy, something wrong. No, they're looking at you because they're wondering, how can I be like her? I know. When they see you and you're facing an exam and they see you at peace, yes, because you have the peace of God running through you, they're wondering, how can I get that peace? Don't sit down and allow your friends to influence you to do the bad things. So that is a decision where when we say abstinence, you are at a point where you can abstain and you can protect yourself. Okay. So it is that is the only protection you have, eh? You see, God provided for you abstinence. 100% effective. Nothing else. That is the 100% effective way to prevent HIV and AIDS and STIs and also pregnancy. It is okay to ask for help when it comes to making your decisions. Oh, you hear me repeat that how many times? Your choices, your decisions that you are going to make. Don't sit down and think that if I go to my father, the way he will talk to me because he's a pastor or he's a Christian, I will not like his decision. I will give you an experience of mine. In my marriage, I was going through a bit of a mental turmoil in making a decision. So my dad is a pastor. So I went to my father and I said to him, Daddy, I come and ask you a question. I want you to talk to me as my father, not a pastor. I tell him. He was in the garden and we were talking. And he said to me, so you think all the advice I've been giving you is that of a pastor? So my advice as a pastor is that different than a daddy? No. My life and my decisions I have made as an individual and a man of God is guided by that of Christ. So even when I daddy you with the laws and the principles of Christ. There is no difference in what I am going to tell you than what I have taught you. Huh? So when we think we might come and ask a question to somebody in church and we don't like the answers and the decisions they give us, and we say, okay, I'd rather go and talk to my teacher. But remember, your teacher is not brought up the same way you are. Your teacher do not have the same goals as you. Your teacher do not have the same principles as you. It is not wrong to go to your teacher, but the best people to come to are the people who bring you up in Christ. The people who protect you and bring you up in Christ. There is not one parent I know and have ever encountered or heard of or listened to that has planned and looked forward for their child having a bad future. Not one. So they will never advise you and push you in the wrong direction. Best advice you can get. It may not be what you want, but the best advice sometimes is the advice you don't want. Because if you had fought and go ahead with what you fought, you would have landed in somewhere that is a way of destruction. It's best you listen and you take advice. So when you are going to make your decisions, it's good to ask questions and to go to your youth leader, your pastor, your teacher, your parents. And if you look at the picture here, you could picture here, you will see I say, give yourself time to grow. Why? Because great things take time. Let me tell you that. For me to be a community health nurse, I went through plenty. Plenty. No, I had periods of time when I remember I cannot remember his surname. Brian. Came on the ward on Glover when I was sick. He had a guitar. And they prayed for me when I had a pulmonary embolism. I had a clot in my heart. Clot. And my heart was failing and they had to fly me to Matnik. I was Dominica unresponsive for 2 weeks. I went to Matnik for 3 days. I came back Dominica walking on my feet. Tell me if that is not God. I stayed and I worked as a nurse. I ended up in ICU 2 years ago, August. And it just so happened, I remember because my husband had put a post on Facebook because everybody kept saying, I died. And people were calling him. And he put a post on Facebook and he said, please stop spreading the rumor that my wife is dead. She is home from ICU. And yesterday I saw it. And I said to him, look at that. It's 2 years. At that moment in time, I was still just a nurse. I never, because I was sick, I would be sick for months on end. Sick, cannot breathe. I remember before I ended up ICU last year, I could not stand to bathe. I was breathless and my mouth would be dribbling water. I felt like I was dying. I could not breathe on my own. And I went to ICU, got diagnosed with another pulmonary embolism, actually from casualty, and they sent me to ICU. And I remember one of the Cuban doctors, he came to me and he said to me, he looked at my book and he told me, he said to me, you know what is a pulmonary? I told him, yes, I've been on medication and whatnot. And then I said to him, Doc, I had gotten that before, you know. He opened his eyes. He said, you know how many people get pulmonary embolism and don't make it here? And you on the second one? I say, God not ready for me, because he has a purpose. A purpose. And when they called, after I came back to work and they called me and told me about acting as a supervisor, I remember saying yes. And after I put down the phone, I cried. Because I thought that I would never get to, I would see my colleagues, I'm proud of my colleagues that get, but I thought that I wouldn't get to that point because I'm ill. I have been working as a community health nurse. With the work, you heard all the places I'm supervising. And I do not feel, let me tell you, I am at my best. I am at my healthiest. I am at my healthiest. And sometimes the principal nursing officer, Nurse Louise, she'll call me and she'll say, Izo, or she calls me Pumpkin. She said, Pumpkin, you okay? I just checking on you. Yes, Nurse Louise, I'm fine. I thank God for the opportunity to stand there. It took time, guys. It took time. I remember when I was in church as a young person, and individuals, we would be going up. My sister, my brother was down police, and my sister and I sometimes would go together, or sometimes me alone going up because our church was a little distance. I would have fellas on the road calling me, harassing me, troubling me. But I stayed steadfast. I remember a guy who was in church. We were raised together in church. When he left, he came once to visit, and he said, you still in that? Because I was leading worship, and then after I announced about youth, and he said, you still in that? And I said, yes, you need to come back and meet me. I need your strength, so come back and meet me. I cannot leave it, because at the end of the day, when I leave it, even though it's two of us that are there, I am neglecting the one person I can influence. Yes, it's two of us, let's stay. So guys, I want to encourage you to give yourself time for you to mature and for you to grow. And as you can see, I put up also a little encouragement for you. How can you be there for your own self? Because the decision is for you. So when you have to be able to say no when it comes to your boundaries. You're a Christian. You have to have limits. You have to have principles. You have to have goals. You say no. You are honest about how you feel. You're experiencing something. Speak to somebody. Don't act on it. Speak to somebody. When you speak up, when you don't feel right, you will get help. Give yourself time to heal and grow and learn from your mistakes. You will make mistakes. You're a young individual. You make mistakes on a test. When you go back and you do it again, you know you're doing the correct thing, not true? So you will make mistakes. So give yourself time to make the mistakes and learn from them. It's not just about, oh, I'm a young person, I'll make mistakes. It's how you learn when you make the mistake. Right. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being attentive. Thank you for being present and being with me. I hope that I created an impact in the information that you receive. I don't want you to just keep the information and have it here. I want you to be able to share the information. Because the same way I have made it my personal goal. Every time they call and they say they want a nurse or somebody to go and do a teaching, I am always, send me. Send me. I everywhere. I like to go and talk. Let me go and talk and educate. I like it. Because I've made it my personal goal to never stop. You see, the same way I see my dad and he has made it his personal goal to never stop sharing the word of God. That man is persistent. I remember when our churches was our family alone and then we got members. And he was persistent. So I have made it my goal to ensure that while I share the word of God is to also show that I can create an impact in my profession by not stopping but being steadfast with educating individuals. When you have education and you have knowledge, you have power. Your power to make a decision, that's a power that you hold. I stand here before you and I give you information, but you are the one tomorrow who will enter a classroom and be able to boldly say, I am not part of that crowd. I do not entertain that. And I'm going to use my knowledge that I have gained to talk to my peers that they too can make better decisions. Okay? Thank you very much. Any questions?
Questions? Any questions?
He has a question. Oh. Oh. Yes. Okay.
As a young person, which, because of my action, my decision actions,
yes.
I have a particular condition growing up.
Okay.
When in courtship, I decide to get married,
Yes.
should I share my condition with my lover before marriage so that when marriage comes and I cannot produce what I ought to, especially having a child,
Yes.
and my spouse, the husband or wife,
Yes.
finds out, how important it is to share that information before marriage?
If you're a child of God, you always have to be truthful. If you are a child of God, you have to uphold truth and you have to be truthful. You cannot be ashamed. If I made a decision when I was out in the world and I have asked God for forgiveness and I have now become a child of God, if I hide it, I am ashamed. You don't have to tell the world everything, but how unfair are you to enter a marriage where you are, an individual is committing themselves to you holistically, and you are hiding from them what you are something that will impact them. This decision, I believe, personally, is information you should give. Let me tell you why. The individual is giving you everything. I am committing my everything to you. I am trusting my every being to you. And I expect you to trust me with you. I cannot be able to holistically, I should say, accept everything from you if you hold back and after marriage tell me. That's unfair. This is self. When it comes to courtship and going into marriage, you cannot be selfish. And for you to uphold information that you know, as an individual, the reason why you hold it as a secret is because you figure out it will impact the other person, not true? then how unfair are you?
Exactly.
I remember doing an HIV training, and one of the presenters was saying, we were talking about how easy it is to contact HIV, and if you end up in an accident with your friend and you do not have gloves and you have an open wound and they have an open wound, you have to make the decision to say, I cannot just put my hands in that blood. And the driver of the health team say, so I'm going to watch my friend there struggling. And the presenter, who is not a Christian, he responded and he said, the one thing you do not know about a person is what will change your life forever. What I don't want you to know about me is because I know it will change how you see me. So if I am not open with you and telling you who I really am, and I'm hiding the fact that I cannot produce children to you, technically you don't know who I am. I am not presenting me to you. I'm giving you what I think you should know. Now, I'm not saying to you every individual you date, that should be the first conversation. Because you have a person part, a secret part of yourself, you have to hold to yourself. But when you get to the point where you're going into marriage, and you say you want it to be guided by God, God doesn't deal with secrets. God cannot deal with those kind of secrets where you are withholding that secret part from. If you believe that God is guiding your relationship, believe in the fact that if you share that information, that person is your person. Yeah. Simple so. Yeah. Simple as that. That is my belief.
Yes. Next question. I would like to know the difference between the bacteria and the virus. Okay. Bacteria and the virus.
Okay. A bacterial infection is spread through bacteria. So like let's say bacteria. So let's say you like gonorrhea is a gonorrhea bacteria. It's an organism that is alive, and you can contract it by maybe coming into contact with an individual through sex, but not necessarily through having an ejaculation. So you can have it through, let's say, the individual have it on their genitals, like the trichomoniasis is like on the genital. Well, there's a parasite, but for bacteria, it can be on the external area of the genitals. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be internal. For viral, it is in your blood. So, for example, if somebody has a sore on the genital, the bacteria is there. Because for gonorrhea, you may see that discharge, but you may also see a sore for some of them. For HIV and AIDS, it's in the blood, it's in the bodily fluids. So your semen and discharge and blood, that is where it will spread because it is inward, it is in your bloodstream. And it is more difficult to treat these, and it's not curable, and it is more difficult to treat or sometimes even see symptoms of those viral infections. Bacterial infections, you will more see symptoms because they produce, you will see like a sore or something around, yeah. Yes, sir.
I've been hearing about sign and symptom. Just
okay. So the difference between sign and symptom. Okay, a sign is a possibility that this might be something. A symptom, it belongs to that. So let's say, okay, a sign of diabetes. A sign of diabetes is you may urinate frequently. It's a sign. But also if you drink plenty water, you may urinate frequently. Right? Okay. A symptom of diabetes is when you have, let's say, your blood sugar, let's say your blood sugar is low and you are cold and clammy and you're going into a coma. Or if your blood sugar is extremely high and your sore is not healing and you have to end up having an amputation. You want to add something? You want to say something? It seems like you want to say something. Also, for example, let me put it a little more specific. You may have a sign of the flu, right? Okay, so a sign of the flu might be you have cough, sneeze, and and a dry cough, sneezing, and runny nose. Right, sore throat. Right. But it may not necessarily be a symptom. It may not necessarily be the flu. It could be sinusitis that you have. You understand? Right. A symptom would be if you actually have the flu itself and you get tested and you can transmit the flu from you, like the strain of your influenza can be transmitted to you to somebody else. You don't transmit a sign, but a symptom can be. Yes. You want to specify more?
Well, just to add to that, so a sign is an objective, something that is objective. Right. So, for example, the person's body temperature is 98. Right. So that's an objective. It's not something that you think it is.
You get it.
Right. Your blood pressure is 150/90. That is objective. Your PSA reading is 5.2. Right. So these things these signs are what the medical team can be able to test and give data on. Whereas the symptoms are subjective. So, and the subjective can be right, can be correct. So, I'm feeling hot. That's a sign, that's a symptom. I have a cough, it is dry. I'm urinating a lot, that's right. So, signs and symptoms.
Any other question?
I want
Thank
a
you
question
so much,
from
guys.
a young person. Want to ask a question? Sorry.
No questions? None? Nobody never asked a question? No young person? So you have a question? Okay, son, he has a question.
How does HIV feel?
I cannot tell you the feeling myself. But my son, it is a period of time where people go through phases, okay? You go through phases. So you have a feeling where when you happen to get your results, obviously you feel sad, you feel confused, you feel angry, you ask how it feels. You maybe want to know how it feels. If it's painful, yes, you will get periods of pain because it can cause you to have sores all over your body. It can cause rash. It also causes a rash in the mouth. So it can be painful. Is it always going to be painful? No. But it can be. Thank you very much, guys. It was really a pleasure.
Don't go anywhere. Let me thank you, Nurse Moses. Moise.
Alfred. Moise Alfred.
Okay, Nurse Alfred, let me thank you on behalf of the management of the Seventh-day Adventist Church for accepting especially the AY and the Health Department for accepting our invitation. Now we have a token for you.
I said that I just know.
She's adding the Alfred.
Yes. You put in the Alfred. I could have taken it.
Good evening, everyone. Nurse Alfred, on behalf of the members of the Roseau SDA Adventist Church, the Health Department, we would like to say thank you so much. I pray that most of the information that you have given our youth and the adults alike will be able to take it and practice it in our daily lives so that we make proper decisions. So we have nothing to regret when we do something. So again, thank you very much.
To close our well-spent moment. That's me. Tell me about you. Lovely, well spent. Let us, educational. Somebody else. How did you? Appreciative. Very good, very good. Let's all stand as we sing our closing song. Can the world see Jesus in you and me? Let us all stand. Number 11. Sister Brian, you abandoned me, you know. Come. Come. What we start, we have to finish. And our offering, right? You are going to organize for the offering. So we'll pick up our offering while we sing our closing song. Do we live so close to the Lord today, passing to and fro on life's busy way, that the world in us can a likeness see to the man of Calvary?
Do we live so close to the Lord today, passing to and fro on life's busy way, that the world in us can alike the sea to the man of Calvary? Can the world see Jesus in you? Can the world see Jesus in you? Does your love to him ring true, and your life and service true? Can the world see Jesus in you? Do we love with love to his own king, all his creatures lost in the mind of sin? Will you reach a hand whatsoever it costs to reclaim a sinner's cause? Can the world see Jesus in you? Can the world see Jesus in you and me? Does your love to him ring true, and your life and service true? Can the world see Jesus in you and me? As an open book, they all eyes will read, to our words and acts giving daily heed. Will they be attracted or turned away from the Christ who loved today? Can the world see Jesus in you? Can the world see Jesus in you and me? Does your love to him be true, and your life on service true? Can the world see Jesus in you and me?
I want a youth to pray for me. You're going to pray, and you're going to pray on the evening's offering. A youth. And I love that name, Shonella. Shonelli. I love the name and I love the person. Come, sweetheart, come. Not that I wanted to put you on the spot, but I love you.
Dear Lord, I want to thank you for everything you have done first, and to thank you for bringing us here on your Sabbath day, and to thank you for the presentation we were able to receive and all the knowledge we were able to get from it, dear Lord. And I ask that you help us to use it and follow in your footsteps and follow in the footsteps that you have set out for us and in the words you have put in the Bible to guide us along our way. I want to thank you for the offering, and I ask that as we depart to our homes, you guide us safely and you keep us safe so that we can return next Sabbath. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I had a right to call her, right? Yes. Thank you, and that is it till next Sabbath.